Syracuse. That was just unbelievable. We'll get to it, and tonight, of course, they're playing Duke tonight. That'll be really, really big. All right, we have a lot to get into, including marijuana in New York State, and guess what's coming with the governor's proposal? And I expect this thing to happen, of course, with a Democrat-controlled Assembly and Senate. We'll get into it coming up right now. Rachel Sutherland standing by from Fox News. And the government shutdown, we are now the longest, in the midst of the longest ever, right, Rachel?
Absolutely, yeah. This is the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. The longest was under Bill Clinton in the 90s. It lasted 21 days. We're now on to day 23. A lot of government workers on Friday missed their first paychecks and still no real end in sight to the standoff. I mean, that's the really remarkable part. We've been talking to producers on Capitol Hill. They're not seeing any kind of end to this. So we're in uncharted territory here. The president had talked about declaring a national emergency, but that doesn't appear to be something he's willing to do at this moment. And there's effects. I mean, it's not just people going without paychecks. We know that the FDA has suspended routine food inspections. So that means if we have another romaine crisis, well, we won't know about our lettuce, things like that. So there is kind of a ripple effect that's been happening.
It was interesting to watch the reactions from over the weekend and on the Sunday morning programs. If you were talking to a Republican, it was Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's shutdown. That was Ted Cruz was really pretty strong on that. But if you were talking to a Democrat, it's the president's shutdown. It's funny how both sides are pointing fingers, but where does the public check in?
Oh, well, according to recent polling, but take it for what it is. This is CNN poll showing that Americans really blame the president for the shutdown. But look, blame is going to go both ways. But when it comes to a solution, somebody's going to want to be the one to stand up and say, hey, I ended the shutdown. I ended the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Maybe somebody will come forward with that kind of an idea because really it does hit home. We know that some people, TSA agents we've been hearing, have been calling out sick in protest because some are having to work without pay. We're really, again, in uncharted territory, having gone into the longest shutdown of U.S. history.
Well, Trump does always like to do things best, best of everything, getting all the records.
Right,
so, it's obvious that he's doing the longest shutdown.
To win the record for this.
Yeah. One more. Lindsey Graham yesterday was floating an idea that maybe they would get the government back together for back to work for a few weeks, and that the president would say, listen, this is it. You guys have this opportunity to get something done. Maybe take Pelosi and Schumer and the president out of it, and then with the promise at the end that he would use the emergency option at the very end, if nothing was done. Yeah,
he has floated that idea, and I actually was surprised at Senator Graham being so open to the idea of using that option of emergency declaration. But, he is, and we'll see if the president sees it his way. He could. The sun is not up here in D.C. As you know, we're under like a foot of snow. So
you guys, you guys have more snow than we have. We're at about a dusting of snow out here. We don't handle it well. So. That is true. I feel like we're getting spoiled, and maybe we don't handle it so well either. But anyway, Rachel, thanks so much. We appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.
They got a lot of snow over the weekend. It was that storm that came across the country and completely went south of us. We didn't see any of it.
Yeah, it kind of sounded like she was in an igloo this morning of some kind.
It did, yeah, because they don't have to go in, right?
Yeah. I'll say this, though. How much snow did they get?
A foot.
And what's the temperature there?
Well, it's still cold there. I mean, there's a cold spell going on.
Is it 2? It's 2 degrees here.
I don't know the exact temperature there.
Hold on, I'll find out the temperature.
We'll get it for you.
My car didn't warm up the whole ride here.
It is a chilly start to the day, but it's going to warm up by tomorrow. For a little while, anyway. But it is, I hate to say, but it's wintertime.
It's 30 in Washington, D.C. Right now, so that's probably why they got a lot of
So today is a very big day, and this is going to send shockwaves through our area and throughout the state. They're going to, it looks like they're going to change the date of the primary to June, and that's expected to be voted on today. That's not the big news, though. The big news I'll get to you coming up, what the governor has in his plan. And I think it's going to happen. And it's going to affect all of us. But so will this. So what does that mean? You have a number of people that are thinking about running for certain political offices, races that might be up, county executive race. There are
it's funny you mentioned that one.
Mayoral races out there. There are other races as well. They would probably get their things ramped up in the next few weeks, at least get their team together. Everything would then begin ramping up in probably February and March with signatures over the summer. And for the primary, probably commercials and direct mail, that sort of thing coming up in, at the very least, August and September leading up to the primary. But if they move the primary to June, everybody's way behind right now, which means they'll be out getting signatures in March, and they're ramping up their campaigns quickly right now because probably April, May are going to become very, very important when it comes to getting their direct mail out, getting their commercials on, getting the door-to-door. They've just had, it looks like they've just had 2.5 months trimmed off, almost 3 months trimmed off their campaign. This is big news. And the fact that they're doing it without a 1-year moratorium in the midst, you would think that they'd say beginning in 2020, the state primary will be in June, but it looks like they're going to do it this year.
And, you know, the interesting thing you said about a lot of these, so there are, I think I have 3 or 4 stories in my news stack this morning about, you know, some of Governor Cuomo's initiatives. And it seems like you said something, it's a Democrat Assembly and Senate. It's going to be what Cuomo wants, he gets, I think.
It does seem that way, even the marijuana, although there's still a lot to hammer out on the marijuana thing. So what will the legal age be? Where will the money go? In terms of the tax dollars, where is that going to end up going? Will they kind of send it in the same direction as alcohol and that concept? But that has to be taken care of. What about will they apply the same rules to marijuana that they have on alcohol? That would mean. Is it no longer illegal to smoke marijuana in front of a child? Is that no longer endangering the welfare of a child? How much can one buy? Who gets to sell it? How do you get licensed? I think there's a lot of stuff to be ironed out here.
Oh, yeah.
And fortunately, they have a half a dozen states that have already legalized it, so they get to look at what's worked well and not so well in those states. But I think there's still a lot of arguing and hashing things out.
And concerns from law enforcement about, you know, how to make their changes as well. I know Sheriff Mayfield is one person who's very concerned about that aspect of it.
However, you now have a pretty clear path to legalization. The other big thing that I think is coming, and
this is the thing. You got me on the edge of my seat. What's the thing?
You're going to no longer be able to use plastic bags at your grocery store.
Oh, stop it!
That's coming.
Yep.
I'll get out of
That's
here.
coming.
Also,
wait, you can't use them, or they're going to charge you for them.
No, they're banning.
Like
I think they're going to be banned. But to be honest with you,
I just think that's crazy. So
there's a guy out in Massachusetts who's created a plastic that is completely biodegradable. Of course, those bags would probably cost a lot. But the beauty of the plastic bags is you can put 7 of them in your hands.
Right.
You get 7 in one hand, 7 in the other, and you carry the groceries in one trip. The other thing is some of the grocery carts now have these metal lips where you can dangle your groceries along the side. You can then, but that will all be gone because you won't be able to use your plastic bags.
All right, so the ban thing, I do think it means you can still get them, but you have to pay for them, and like the money goes into some environmental fund because, like, say
it depends on what they do. Banning is what the word is. The
he
way
wants to eliminate it because it's an environmental threat.
Well, then what would you get if you walked into a grocery store and you didn't have
paper and cloth?
Oh, okay. You would still get a bag. Okay.
Sure. I mean, when you go to Aldi's, for instance, you still can get. You could buy their freezer their freezer bags, which are plastic.
Yeah.
But they don't have the plastic bags. But you can buy the they don't have the same type of plastic bags at Aldi's.
No, but the bags they have are plastic though. I mean,
Yeah,
they also have a paper
bags. You have to pay for
paper
those.
bags.
You were
They have
right.
plastic ones.
They do, but they're the heavy plastic freezer bags.
Okay.
They don't have those little tiny, those thin little Hannaford,
it's like a
type-
film.
yeah, that come they you know what I'm talking about.
I always try
they
and
don't
see
have those.
how many items I can carry out without having to use a bag, or sometimes I'll steal one of the empty cardboard things.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing. You're walking out of your grocery Aldi like with all your stuff
And that
because
is
they don't give you anything
you
if you
throw-
don't have it. Or
throw everything in the back.
Throw it
of
in the
your
back
car.
seat.
But that is, listen, that's coming, and what it means, I don't know yet. It all depends on what the governor has. I believe tomorrow is his proposal.
State of the state / budget address.
You'll get it all tomorrow, but unlike previous years where he'd throw these things out there and then he'd have to work his way through the Senate. He has a pretty big Democratic majority in the Senate now.
So when we say ban on plastic bags, we're talking about the real thin. It's like a
Which
film
you would get for
the
free
Walmart
at every
plastic bags.
grocery store.
But other bags would still be available?
I don't know the answer. We don't know yet.
And doesn't all our trash go in plastic bags?
My guess would be look to California to see what they do to give you an idea. And let's look in that on the other side of the break. We'll go over what the rules are in California. My guess is that's where the governor is going. And keep in mind, he always likes to be just a little bit better in his eyes than anybody else. So he can say he's the first. So is it possible that he'll take a new step where he bans even further than California? I don't know.
He's going to send police into your home to confiscate your existing bags.
It will be interesting to see what comes out of all of this. We'll get into it coming up. We'll tell you where California is to give us a little bit of an idea. But I'm saying this stuff is all a-coming with a Democrat-controlled Senate and Assembly. 6:30, it's a cold, really, really cold start. We're in single digits no matter where you are. But sunshine. It's been sunny, right? You look outside, it's just been beautiful looking.
Well, and that's what I said yesterday to you,
cold.
in fact. This area is so deprived. We get a hint of sunshine, and we're like,
Springtime.
it's spring.
Yeah, it's
Spring's
spring.
here.
Hold on. It's Monday, January 14th, the WIBX. Real cold weekend.
Yeah, for sure. It was, single-digit highs this weekend. Overnight low temperatures below zero, but we are going to warm things up through at least the middle of the work week. Just a reminder that it is still winter, so our warm days are definitely numbered. So our warmer days are definitely not going to be quite as warm, but we are going to slowly work our way back into the 20s and 30s through at least the middle of the work week. And we don't really have any big snow chances, at least through the work week. Wednesday, we'll see a quick clipper system that could put down a little bit of accumulation. But for the most part, this whole work week is 20s, 30s, and then some clouds and some sun, with the exception of Wednesday. But what is worth watching is going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. A couple storm systems could come together to bring us even more accumulating snow. So that's quite a few days out, but it's been interesting to watch the last few days.
Yeah. Well, to the south of us and to the east of us, they were hit pretty well. I think D.C. has about a foot of snow today, and we're just not seeing the snow. Maybe a dusting, maybe about an inch or so. We get to the higher elevations, there's a little more, and of course, as you go up into Tug Hill, you can snowmobile up there.
Right.
But for us, it's really been quite uneventful.
Yeah, and I think the end of this month into early February, it's going to get a little bit more active.
All right, Rachel, we appreciate it. Very cold today, but things will warm up. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You too.
Rachel is the chief meteorologist at Eyewitness News. Coming up, how far does the governor want to go when it comes to banning plastic bags? What will happen when it comes to marijuana? And what's the one you guys are arguing about? Oh, smoking. Just smoking tobacco in general. You should have helped him over the weekend. You're so good at betting.
I usually
He could have used your help over the weekend, man.
I only make bets on things I know 100%,
Okay.
I'm sure.
I'm going to give you my moron alert. It involves someone who is, over the weekend, has decided he is running for public office.
For the first time?
There's a reason we call it a moron alert, and I'll get to it coming up. I look at most moron alerts. They have their green light, by the way, when they're going off in the newsroom. Moron alert.
Yeah.
it's a green light because it's like the smiles go on. It's like, oh, this is going to be fun.
And with the new law being proposed, it makes sense that this person would have to get their name in the...
I don't think it's a new law. Morons have always been allowed to run for public office.
I'm talking about the primary thing.
Oh,
with the proposed legislation about it being early.
That'll happen. I think that's going to happen today, and I think it's going to be effective this primary, which I think means the federal and state primary will be in June, which will then give you July, August, September, October, and November before the general.
That includes local stuff too, right?
Because
didn't a couple years ago there were 3 different dates?
That would be all primaries.
Okay.
Yeah. The governor is going to be all in on this plastic bag. It would ban plastic bags. Mainly, they go after the grocery bag. I don't think he'd go to garbage bags. I mean, GLAAD would not be happy with that. I'm sure they have a big, hefty lobby, right? Can include everybody in there. But as for those, and they come in and you know how they put them onto the rack at the grocery store, and you have to kind of pull them apart, and then what do you do with them? I do my best to try to recycle them at home and use them for other things, but I think he is going to. Now, here's the best line. The governor says it will be a bold action that would create a cleaner and greener New York for all, and this is the clue. While the federal government is taking our environmental progress backwards and selling out our communities to polluters and oil companies in New York, we're moving forward with, quote, the nation's strongest environmental policies, doing everything in our power to protect our natural resources for future generations, says the governor. So I think this is very much like the SAFE Act, where he wanted it to be able to tout having the strongest laws, the strongest legislation, the strongest bills that would turn into laws in New York State, so that he can look around the country and say, look at us. I think that's what he's going to try to do with the plastic bags.
You know, he is so much like Donald Trump. It's unbelievable.
It is interesting.
Trump is just, it's the greatest, the biggest, the best, and his is the strongest, the most.
Well, he wants to be usually the first, or to have the most extreme legislation that he can come up with.
It'll be the most extreme legislation ever. Trust me.
There's also a bottle bill proposal. It would add bottles for sports drinks, energy drinks, fruit and vegetable drinks, and ready-to-drink teas and coffees that would also get a $5 deposit.
A 5 cent?
A 5 cent deposit, I'm sorry. That'd be funny, $5. And then finally, cigarettes is going to be one they're probably going to try to push to, which is something that, believe it or not, I'm against. I believe they're going to try to push the legal age for people to buy cigarettes to 21, from 18 to 21. I think it should remain at 18. I also believe drinking alcohol should be at 18, only because we allow everything else. You become an adult at the age of 18. You can go to jail at age 18. You can be charged with rape at the age of 18. Mm-hmm. You can join the military and fight for our nation at the age of 18.
You can choose our leaders.
I think that at this point, if you can make decisions at the age of 18, if that's what we deem to be adulthood, then you should be able to make decisions at the age of 18.
Yeah, I think that's a great point.
That's my only and otherwise, let's push everything to 21.
Right.
And I think there'd be a case for that, because I'm not sure that 18 is the same maturity level that it was 50 years ago.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on all points there. The only thing I disagree with is I'm all for restricting access to cigarettes. I'm for that. I just think a lot of kids in high school start smoking. It's almost kind of like...
Yeah, but what is interesting, though, is they all have started, most of them have started long before it was ever legal. So the fact is, prohibition just doesn't work. And sometimes I feel it with humans, especially that age, they in their early teens, I think they have this feel that if they can't do it, it makes them want to do it even more. Yeah. Not that we should be endorsing it at the same time, but think about what age were you when you started smoking?
Was it like 16? 15.
Well, it wasn't 18.
Yeah.
So you were doing it. You were getting them illegally in the first place. So I don't think the law will change anything.
Did you want to know the California plastic ban law? Is it
yeah. What is it?
So
because just think of what they're doing, and you got to be thinking we're probably going to try to do something more.
So this was actually put to it was passed by the legislature, and then it was put to referendum in 2014. But as of July 1st, 2015, so it went to referendum and passed with a 52% majority, 52%. As of July 1st, 2015, certain large stores are prohibited from providing a single-use plastic carry-out bag to a customer unless the retailer makes that bag available for 10 cents and certain conditions are met. So it's really not an outright ban.
And I think you'll see the governor say, "We've gone further."
Yeah.
Further.
No more bags.
We'll see what we'll know by the end of tomorrow. Michael says, "I hope when we start selling marijuana, we don't ban those little plastic-sized sandwich bags." Those. That's funny.
So one more point on the 21. Andrew was correct. We actually made a bet during the break. A lot of counties, in fact, have the age currently at 21. I was surprised at the number.
And I actually thought it happened sooner.
In New York, yeah.
And in defense, I had thought it had happened sooner, but as of it took effect January 1st for Nassau, Onondaga, Orange, Rockland, Schenectady, Suffolk, Sullivan, Tompkins, and Ulster counties, as well as Westchester County. Before that, it was New York City, Albany, is it Cattaraugus? I'm not.
New York City is 21. You have to be 21.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chautauqua County, Cortland, and Essex were already before January 1 of 19, where you had to be 21 years of age.
All right. Well, we'll see this week what the governor proposes, and today we should see what the legislature does with it when it comes to the primary. That's going to be very interesting and affect local races here in the area. Some of the races that are up, obviously, mayor of Utica and Rome, both of those are up. County executive. What else do we have that's up? The assembly is basically done from last year. The sheriff's race is done from last year.
Senate, no Senate, right?
But you will have
county legislature seats, maybe.
You'll have the county legislature is going to be up as well. So you'll have a lot of local races that are all going to have to go out and get signatures. Instead of I said to Brian Miller, instead of you now having to, although he's all set now in the assembly, but instead of you having to wear out 3 or 4 pairs of sneakers, you'll be wearing out
and a hip
3 or 4 pairs of snowshoes or snow boots. It'll all be changing. All right. So speaking of politics, there is someone, and I still find this to be suspicious. You brought up, it just doesn't seem right. Why would he do this? But the word is that Dave Gordon, who came really close to Sandy DiPerno in the big, epic county clerk's race, is about to run for Sandy DiPerno's boss's position.
Yes,
county executive.
That's what we're hearing. Is that he's
and there's a website. There's artwork and a website, I believe, that's already out. Do you think this is real?
Yeah.
Do you
100%.
think he would be that stupid?
100,000%.
Not
that I'm saying that I think this is real.
Here's the thing. Does he think that he got as close as he did to Sandy DiPerno because of him? He's the reason. And I get it. He went hard after her. He treated it like it was a race for president or something. But Tony Piceni has far more support and is far more savvy than he's someone who knows how to run for a race. Sandy DiPerno's never been challenged by anybody. My guess is when you're running against Anthony Piceni, you're not running against Sandy DiPerno.
Well, I will say this. I think you could make the argument, like you made the point about being more politically savvy. Tony, the county executive, beat, I can't remember the guy's name a couple years ago, but otherwise he's pretty much been unopposed.
I understand, but he has been basically in the background of many races through his career. One could call Tony Piceni the leader of the Republican Party, pretty easily in Oneida County. So he knows how to get signatures. He knows absentees. He knows how to run a campaign. All I'm saying is you're not running against Sandy DePerno anymore.
And I think, well, and getting back to why he may be doing this, as he may have learned, you can't really change the DMV unless you go all the way to the top. You know, I mean, you can't do it without the support from the county executive.
I don't think it can be true. I think he's just throwing this out there to mess with everybody. Are you saying there's a website?
A website, a logo with an eagle and everything.
Republican for county executive. Wow. That's awesome.
So, yeah, something doesn't seem right. I mean, one of the criticisms...
I think there's a place where you can contribute. I want to contribute just to keep this crap going.
I think you're throwing in your 2 cents right now. One of the criticisms of him, and this might have actually kept him from winning the position, this might have deterred some people from voting from him, and as we said, it was very close, was the idea that, like, he runs for so many things. He's very chameleon in his positions, and he runs for so many offices.
Well, let's go through. I think we went through it at one point. He's run for Congress.
We did go through it. Yes, you're 100%.
Run for...
We're not even 2 months off the last election. Or we're just over 2 months off the last election, and he's now going for a higher post.
One would look at it differently. I mean, everybody's saying, well, you realize how close he got to beating Sandy DePerno. Well, she helped him along the way. But let's look at it from another angle. This is the angle Dave Gordon isn't looking at. You couldn't beat Sandy DePerno. That's got to be pretty telling. I'll repeat it. You were unable to beat Sandy DePerno. Where the hell you think you're going?
Well, I was speaking with somebody over the weekend.
You couldn't win county clerk.
They had said if Dave had been a Republican, his whole life, or even more than just a few months, that he may have had more support from Republicans against Sandy. But much like the positions, the different positions, I think he was a Democrat this time last year, I think.
Well, he was when Bernie Sanders. He had changed by then when Bernie Sanders was running, so 2016. Mm-hmm. We had reached out to him to come on the radio. I thought it would be quite interesting. And how was the response? What kind of response did we get?
Oh, man. Well, it started with one of his New Year's resolutions. Is to not do Keeler in the morning, and that will probably last for a couple of years.
Oh, I'm so sad because I love getting you on and beating the crap out of you. It's so easy.
Listen,
it's fun. Honest to God, it's having him. A local politician once said to me, "Why do you even have him on?" And my answer was, "Do I really need to answer that question? Come on, give me a break."
He makes good arguments. Well, hang on. Hold on. He argues the position that he's representing well.
I think what has happened is since Trump, he's discovered that you can go really low and you can attack people on all sorts of things. And if you hammer home your point hard enough and long enough, people are going to believe it. Like that DMV issue. It was really a bogus issue. But it was smart. It really was smart to hammer that because who's happy with the DMV? Is there anyone that's like, boy, I love going to the DMV. It's an awesome experience. I love waiting in lines. I love paying fees. Fees are one of my favorite things. It's like Anthony Brindisi's push on Spectrum. Yeah. That was a winning topic. Yeah. I mean, who's going to walk out there and say, I love my cable company? No one.
I'm paying
too
little.
In the world. I don't pay enough for cable TV.
And I love broken glass in my cereal.
It's awesome. That's the whole thing. I mean, it was a smart move, and he ran with it. But it was more of what she did in her reaction that really turned people off, I felt.
I think so. I think you're right.
Now, Tony has certainly been controversial. He has done things, he says, that are for the county and for the region that might not necessarily be in jive with Republicans, right? Yeah. But at the same time, this in a debate, there would be. I just would only hope there would be a debate, but we probably would never see that.
And I can already kind of see this forming. The big knock on the county executive too is his support of Republicans. local Republicans even.
Well, I think he's done a great job supporting Republicans, except for a couple. And I felt like his reasoning for not supporting Claudia Tenney was justifiable. She was against absolutely everything that he was doing, and she was coming out and undermining everything that he was doing. So the fact that he didn't support her, I don't think was any big surprise. But
there were, of course, there was the governor a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought his reasoning for that was, I've called him brave for that move. That's not to endorse the governor when all this money is coming in. To endorse him over a Republican, that was a pretty dangerous move to make.
The other one, in fact, of course,
and he knew it was dangerous.
Was Dave Gordon in this most recent election?
Well, who would support him?
Well, but again, it's a party thing. It's a party thing,
right?
And I want to say there was a third one in that.
Oh, Bova, Dennis Bova.
And Bova was the other
one. Again, Bova against everything the Pacenti was doing and calling him corrupt. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Be like, listen, for the good of the party, I'm going to endorse this.
Listen, I'm not saying he should have.
I'm just saying, I get it. I know where he's going to go with it. But other than those people, he's been a pretty loyal Republican for a long time. I'm not trying to carry his water. I don't need to do it. But Dave Gordon won't be coming on, he's saying, right? And if he does, he wants to throw personal attacks at me from my life. Davey, everything is out there, man. Good luck with it. Go have some fun. And by the way, if you want to go toe-to-toe with me, I say bring it on. I would pay you to come in here. I would pay you $1,000, and you can put it towards that old city loan from 20 years ago. Okay, because you do the right thing, unlike me. $1,000 for you to come on here and let me debate you for an hour. You'd come out crying with your tail between your legs.
Well, I guess we'll see where this goes.
Anyway,
do I get some kind of bonus to set that up?
Is it legal to pay for a guest here? I'm not sure it quite is. We'd have to come up with some sort of thing for charity or something.
Yeah.
Hold your horses. We'll come back and do some more. Lots to get into here this morning. John Zockby is coming up at WIBX. Jim Picola in studio right now with the DOT. A few updates that we want to make sure you're aware of when it comes to traffic. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone.
Who's your team?
For football?
Yeah.
The Raiders.
Okay.
Ooh.
Well, listen, we're all just sitting on the sidelines.
Don't feel bad for him. He's a Red Sox fan, okay? So you didn't have to give him.
Yeah, there's another one that you never thought they'd be where they are, where they've been since the curse.
Yeah,
and here they are.
I never thought I'd see them win.
Okay, so we have two key mentions here this morning, right?
Yep. They're going to be doing some work on the ramp that goes from 12 South to Burstone Road. Repairing some of the highway lights there, and also the ramp that comes off of Burstone to 12 South. If they have enough time, they're going to repair that one too.
Okay.
So
those will be closed today?
Between 9 and 3, the first ramp.
Okay.
If they have time, they're going to get to the second ramp.
All right. Would that mean it's possible the second ramp could be tomorrow?
Very possible.
Okay.
Or they think they may have enough room where they could let traffic go and still be able to work on the lights safely.
All right.
So.
And then you have another issue going on near 5S, right?
Yep. On the 5S safety project, all this week there's going to be some road crossings, east and westbound. So, we'll be down to one lane, probably in the eastbound direction between 9 and 3. So, just want folks to know that and give themselves a little bit more time, especially if they're trying to get somewhere. And, we'll try to get you where you want to go fast and quick.
Any rumor or any fact, any truth to the rumor that we're hearing about you?
What's that?
Dave Gordon is running for your position?
As PIO at New York State Department of Transportation?
I have not heard that.
It wasn't going to be an elected official position, but...
It's out there, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very possible. Who knows?
So,
yeah.
I have a weather-related question when it comes to all this construction work. I guess I didn't realize you guys continue to work. It's 2 degrees out this morning, or it was.
Yeah.
Can you guys do stuff with cement and concrete and all that stuff when it's 2 degrees out?
Yeah. They build enclosures. They heat the aggregate, heat the water. So there are ways of, pouring concrete in
There's
the
a winter blend, too, for even like macadam, right? There's something you can put down that probably will need to be replaced or covered over in the summertime?
Yeah, they make what they call coal patch.
Okay.
It's not nearly as good as the asphalt plants, when they fire up in the spring.
Yeah.
But, it fills the holes momentarily, but, that's why they're constantly out there repatching them.
Yeah.
And, while everybody else is out there talking about, oh, I hate the cold, I hate the cold. If you're someone who works construction out on a highway somewhere, I can't imagine 2 above 0 is something you look forward to.
No. At least it's going to be dry.
That's
the
true
one
too.
thing,
Yeah.
When it's wet, that's one of the things. But you layer up, and you take frequent breaks. You have the hot soup, coffee, and you watch for your guys and make sure everybody's okay. But you get through it.
Okay, one more time. Expect delays around the arterial today, and over on the 5S project as well, because of some lane closures.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Coming up, we'll talk with the government shutdown, who's to blame. It's now the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. John Zogby is next on WIBX. We're in the midst of day 24. It's the longest government shutdown in U.S. history. Interestingly, if you're watching any of the Sunday programs yesterday or any of the news that you'll see, depending on who you're seeing interviewed, President Trump's shutdown is going to be lasting. Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer's shutdown is going to be ... You get the point? Here's John Zogby. Good morning, John.
Yeah, good morning. Hi. There's a whole lot more who are calling it President Trump's
That
shutdown.
is true. You're right.
That includes a few Republicans as well. So you're starting to see chinks in the president's armor on this one. It's 24 days. It's very hard to understand the political strategy behind the president. It is like he's painting himself in a corner. Almost 60% blame the president. That's 2-1 over the percent that blame the Democrats. And then it is all about, as he states over and over again, a wall, which almost 60% of the American people oppose. So there doesn't seem to be any percentage in any of this for him, and especially at a time where he really needs to build some friendships and coalitions, not only so that he can move forward, with a legislative agenda, but so that potentially he can survive. We just don't know where this Mueller investigation is going to go, and that's dominating the headlines, too, in the last few days.
We'll get into that because there's some new developments there. And again, depending on which side you're on is how you see that story. It's kind of interesting. But, boy, if you go back and look at history, and not to say that this president is going to be ultimately impeached or to resign and not finish out his term, but the only thing you can compare it to is Bill Clinton, who was impeached, and President Nixon. And a lot of this, you can't forget the Republicans dug in support of President Nixon back during the Watergate days. I was a little young for that, but you probably remember it better than I do.
I was teaching and following it very, very closely. And the difference came down to the political. And impeachment is very much, even though constitutionally it's about high crimes and misdemeanors, it's really all about politics. So you have two contrasting stories. With Richard Nixon, Republicans dug in and defended him, even as long as the House Judiciary Committee, which ultimately did vote articles of impeachment. But it was when Nixon's polling numbers hit 23%, and at that point there was what they call the long walk from Congress. The elders of the Senate and the House walked from Capitol Hill to the White House and said to the president, "You've got to go. You're at 23%. You're killing us." The flip side is Bill Clinton. Ironically, his numbers were at 60%, and there was never any support publicly for impeachment. But regardless of the merits of the case, which were kind of thin, the fact is Republicans dug in, and it became a highly partisan thing. Right now, it's partisan with Donald Trump. He pretty much owns the Republican Party, but you are starting to see some Republicans, including a loyalist like Cory Gardner, for example, in Colorado, who's up for re-election in 2020, starting to back off a bit now in his support for the president.
Well, certainly when it comes to this shutdown, you have Stefanik and Katko that both voted for that bill that the Democrats put together, the bipartisan bill. Mm-hmm. So I want to say, though, that, listening to Chris Coons yesterday talk, he's a moderate that seems to work with Republicans. And he seems to believe that Pelosi, she's kind of using the same type of catchphrases the president has used, but on the other side. I'll give you $1 and only $1 for the wall. What he says, though, is it's much different, that Democrats would agree to border security, but not, quote unquote, the wall. However, that could mean a barrier, a wall, a fence of some sort. Do you think there's a way that some sort of an agreement can be put together if people could just kind of cool things off a little bit?
Bill, there's always a way.
Yeah.
And these folks are hired to find that way. Through all of this, we're forgetting the president, one of his duties is to administrate the government, and the Congress's duties to fund the government. It is not to shut down that which you were in charge of. And so, sure, there are ways to compromise this. Chris Coons, frankly, always makes good sense.
Yeah.
He's a bright, decent fellow from Delaware. There ought to be a way of covering under the umbrella border security some sort of funding or limited funding for security, and then figuring out the details of that later on so that the government can open and function.
Yep.
This is very, very serious.
I have about 60 seconds. I want your take on the New York Times story that came out claiming that, listen, the FBI was investigating the President of the United States in fear that he was a Russian agent. From the Republican side, they can't believe that the FBI took this step. On the Democratic side, they can't believe that the FBI had to take this step. Where do we fall? Somewhere in the middle? And what do you think this means for Mueller?
Well, only Mueller knows what any of this means. I guess it doesn't shock me that it was heading in this direction, but right now everything is stymied regarding any investigation of the President of the United States. Elijah Cummings can collect documents, and there can be investigations, but the big kahuna here is the Mueller report. Nobody knows exactly what's in there, but it's looking as if it's really, from the outset, been zeroing on the President of the United States and his relationship with Russia. But in this stark language, was the president dealing directly with the Russians, A, to get elected, B, to join with Vladimir Putin in a sinister way, C, to make some money? None of that looks good at all.
As always, John, we appreciate it. We'll do it again. John Zogby.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Coming up, I want to talk to Diane Umansky, is the special projects editor for Consumer Reports. Do you think I can squeeze her in?
Can we go right now?
Oh, you want me to do it right now? I guess I can do that. Umansky's giving you a look.
That's all right.
She is on, in regards to this might be very interesting, which is why I want to squeeze it in. And that might be very interesting. I know it will be interesting because the tests that you have to take, a lot of these are screening for breast cancer, for all sorts of cancers, whether it's an MRI, an EKG, CT scans. Some screenings may save your life, but others might just be a waste of time. Break it down for us, Diane. Good morning.
Good morning.
What do you think? What is the which of these screenings should people not avoid?
Not avoid. Double negative. Okay, we like that.
I love a good double negative.
It really depends on your personal risk factors, your family health history, your age, your gender. Each of the medical screening tests, and I want to note that we're talking about a test that is a screen, not a diagnostic test. So these are before you have symptoms, for example, the regular screens that your doctor recommends. Each of them have recommendations from major medical organizations, and you want to make sure your doc is following those guidelines. For example, when it comes to a bone density scan for osteoporosis, that's the brittle bone disease, unless you're a woman at high risk for this, you shouldn't be getting that until age 65.
Okay. And when you say you shouldn't be doing it, is it because it's a waste of money or it's not good for you in terms of your health?
That is such a good question. With some of these screenings, there's not really a significant chance for harm. For example, a cholesterol test.
Yeah.
You're going to get a needle. Hurts a little, but it's not going to hurt you. But with others, the tests themselves can be, a little bit not so much fun, painful. They can also sometimes find problems that aren't really there, which we call false positives. So let's say you're taking a screening for prostate cancer, and it suggests that your level of a protein called PSA is high. Then your doctor may recommend that you have a biopsy to see whether or not you actually have prostate cancer. So not only is a biopsy not a whole lot of fun, but it carries a risk of infection and some other problems. So the tests themselves can lead to, when they're wrong, when there are false positives, can lead to other follow-up tests that can cause harm, and even sometimes medical treatments that you don't need.
It's interesting. I just was watching maybe a couple of weeks ago a documentary on Joan Rivers, who died of an endoscopy test, which was a basic test she was taking. They go down the throat, they look into your stomach for polyps and the potential of cancer. It was a basic procedure. She died from that.
Correct.
So things can go wrong.
Things can go wrong, and let's not forget the financial aspect, because a whole lot of screening tests that don't need to be done can also cost both consumers and the healthcare system at large a whole lot of money, and we don't have a whole lot of money to waste these days.
What do you say to people who are, so let's take a breast cancer screening. Listen, I would want my wife to do it. I think they've come back. They've changed the standards now, right? It's once every, is it 5 years? Depending on age.
No. And again, this is a little complicated because there are several different professional organizations weighing in on mammograms in particular, and they don't necessarily agree with each other.
Yeah.
Whether you should start at 40 or 45 and how often you should have it. So the key here is to, have a good relationship with your doctor. Have a doctor you can talk to about, what is my personal risk based on my health, based on, my family's health history, and ask the questions. What do you think will happen if I have it, this often? What do you think will happen if I have it less often? What are my screening options?
Is this report available out there in one of your upcoming magazines?
It absolutely is. It's in the January issue of Consumer Reports magazine, and if you go to consumerreports.org and put in something like medical screening tests, you'll get not just this report, but other, ancillary material that we've prepared on the topic.
And the beauty here is subscription, no advertising. Subscription, no advertising.
We are nonprofit, not supported by ads.
Diane Umansky, thanks so much for taking the time. We'll do it again.
My pleasure.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks. We'll break news coming up. We'll do our free money question of the day from Hobica. Also, I have some birthdays to squeeze in here for Monday. You all right over there?
I'm really annoyed. I almost want to go home right now.
All right. We'll see you later. I'm leaving too. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy your day. We'll break. Why? Is there...
No. Well, a couple of reasons. But anyway, Richard was chiming in this morning. He's a little salty as well.
All right. Well, I imagine that John Zogby will throw a little salt into a few people from time to time.
Yeah. Well, here we go. He said 2 isn't cold and there's no wind. Grow some something. He says not letting your car warm up a few minutes in the morning is the worst damage you can do for your car.
I've heard that to be true.
And he says SU sucks.
I'm really shocked that I don't think I've ever agreed with Richard.
2 out of 3.
But I'm almost with him on Syracuse at this point. I'll see what I'm thinking tomorrow. But even if they win tonight, which seems highly unlikely, how in the hell do you lose to Georgia Tech on Saturday night and play so poorly after coming off such a great performance with Clemson? How does that happen? We'll break and come back at WIBX. January 14th. Middle of the month. Yes, I realize we're all whining about how cold it is out. But we've been spoiled, I think. I really think we've been spoiled.
Well, Richard's outside doing push-ups shirtless. So.
One bare armless push-ups. Yeah. Harry in New Hartford. Hello, Harry. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Let's give away some dough, some of Hobica's money. Are you ready for that? Give it
a try.
You'll have 7 seconds to answer this question. Please do it. And if you do, you'll win from Joseph and Andrew Hobica, 315-724-1600. Hobika. I'm becoming an Australian here. Hobika, Hobica. Joseph and Andrew Hobica. All right, here's your question. 7 seconds to answer it. Cody Parkey is more famous than ever on television. What's his day job? Ready, go. Cody Parkey.
Haven't got a clue.
Oh, he's been all over television. The question should have been, Cody Parkey is more famous than ever on TV. What's his day job for now?
Yeah.
The answer is he's the kicker who went wide left. Well, wide left hit the crossbar and then the upright and then the crossbar for the Bears. Yeah.
Which they say they found out it was tipped.
It was tipped. That's what he's saying. That's what he's saying. We will give you a gift card, though, Harry, to the 72 Tavern and Grill. Okay, $25 gift card.
Okay, thanks. That's great.
All right, sir. Davey's going to take care of you. Hold tight. And by the way, awesome there. We were there on Friday. I met up with some people, and it's really interesting too to see people from out of town coming in for the games, and are kind of figuring out where we're going to go. And it's 4:00. The game's not until 7:00, but they show up and they're like, "Oh, we'll do a little dinner and drinks here before we go to the game." It's really quite a convenience. And the food's really good.
Yeah, I love it over there.
Todd Gookins is with Big Dog Motors down in the valley in Frankfurt, and I wanted to talk to him about this. They'll tell you how much they'll say it's $10,000 if you get a DWI, right? Hello, Todd.
Hey, how you doing?
What is it, like $10,000 on average if you get a DWI?
That's what they say, between legal fees and all.
Yeah. One of the new things, and I guess I didn't know that we had mandated these. Are they mandated, or is this something a judge can say, okay, because you got this DWI, you're going to have a device put in your car, so in order to start it, you have to blow, and if you have any alcohol, your car won't start?
If you don't, I believe it. If it's not a DUAI, if it's a DWI, you have to have these installed.
Okay, so DWAI would not. So explain, how much are these to install? And obviously, you can't turn this into insurance, right? This is something.
No, this is crazy money. I mean, they range anywhere. You have to pay monthly service for every vehicle.
Monthly service.
A monthly service to Intoxilock, which ranges.
Wow.
One we did the other day, he was paying $118 a month, and then now if he had 3 cars in his name, you got to do that to all 3 vehicles.
Wow.
Yeah, and then with this new law, with 25 years Cuomo passed, we had one guy that has had 2 DWIs within that 25-year period. He has to do 5 years with this thing in his car.
Boy,
and that's not counting. So you've got your legal fees, whatever other fees,
right.
And you got to pay them like $118 a month per car.
How much is there an installation fee?
Yeah, they range anywhere from $125 to $200, and then every 5 to 6 weeks you got to stop in here and get it calibrated, which is $20 to $30.
Wow!
And then you got to have it removed at the end, which is another $50 to $100. You know, so you think about all the fees, and plus it's the aggravation. Like right now, it's the weather's brought it to my attention because a lot of people start calling. Your system's on 12 volts without the alternator running, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So your system now, it's freezing out. Your system goes to 11.7 volts. This will enable your car not to start, even though it probably could. It'll say it will not let it start. Then you got to call them, and they'll charge you $80 to reprogram your thing to kind of unlock you out.
And Todd, what happens if you were to, let's say you just did some Listerine or something, and you went and you blew in there and it registered alcohol? Does it just not start your car, or is there a violation included?
There's a violation. I've seen people over time here. I've seen people. So they say, you know, until I really got involved in it, I actually thought they were kind of fibbing, but really it could be it could be Listerine, it could be toothpaste, it could be anything. They say not to do anything for at least 30 minutes before you breathe into it.
Wow.
That's and then insane. As you're driving down the road, you're going for a ride every few minutes. You still have to breathe into this thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like you breathe at once. And the big thing is, like, even now, you know, so you got, you know, you can't let it fall below. You get times now where, you know, you blow in it, and it causes condensation.
Mm-hmm.
So in this weather we have right now, it's so cold, that condensation goes down in the machine, and then that'll freeze. So I tell a lot of people to wrap it in a towel.
Okay. Wow.
Keep it so it's face down so the condensation.
Because you can't bring it in, right, Todd? It's in your car. It's not like you can plug it back in. Can you? Is it something you can move in and out of the car?
No. The only time you can move it in and out of the car when it's calibration. Then I unscrew it, I bring it in, I calibrate it, and I put it back.
Okay, here's one, Todd, because I've heard in the beginning, before we are where we are today in technology, people would say, well, they'll just put their kid in the car or somebody else that isn't drinking, they'll blow into it, and then the person can drive. But you can't do that, can you?
No, there's cameras.
So
when we install the Intox Lock, we're installing a camera, a GPS. They know everything.
Wow. Yeah.
So I've had people call and say that, oh, Big Dog Motors, they didn't install it correctly. And Intox Lock goes, no, it's wrong. Your voltage on your battery is 7 point, whatever volt. They know everything, where it is.
Wow.
So well,
it's the rights here. I mean, here's the deal. You can always, if you get a DWI, say, all right, I'm not going to drive anymore. But because this driving in New York State is a privilege, you then agree to certain circumstances, and in order to have a driver's license, this is what you have to agree to.
Yeah, I've actually known someone that had this system, and then they took the system. They didn't, then they had the system, and then they were actually you're only supposed to drive with the system.
Yeah.
Then they took, and without having a system in it, actually went to their probation meeting or whatever, because they were on probation. Probation officer seen it, gave them 28 days in county lockup for driving without it. So they do take it pretty serious.
And you're one of the only locations, I think, in Herkimer County that
I believe we're
this.
the only ones in Herkimer County. You can always check in Intox Lock and search, but I believe we're the only ones in Herkimer County.
Wow.
So let me ask you on
the idea obviously is don't drink and drive.
Yeah, don't drink and drive.
Yeah.
On that point there about you guys you guys must do these 25 a day.
No. I really thought it was November, December was busy. We've only done a couple this year. I actually thought after the first of the year it'd be really,
Right.
Yeah, well, those cases probably aren't in court yet.
Yeah. But, we've only done a couple so far this year.
All right.
Which is good. Less DWIs.
We do calibrations and stuff all the time.
Well,
so we get a lot of calibrated people come in. Because every 5 weeks you got to come in and calibrate that thing, and that's more money
and
more time.
The technology is called Intoxilock, and there's a good chance if you get nailed, this is something you'll have to do.
I agree with a lot of this, but part of it sounds like a racket. But anyway, here's my question.
It is all about money, I think, too, a lot of times, ain't it? Years ago, you had guys that would get DWIs, 90 days, especially older guys,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it isn't, you'd be amazed that, you think, I don't think I've done anybody under 21 or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's been older people that were putting these Intox Locks in.
Yeah, I guess I'm wondering on that because I hate to say this, but I think we all unfortunately know people who know people who've gotten DWIs, and they haven't had to do this. I mean, it's been in the last year or 2 years. How long has this stuff been around? How long have you been doing this for?
We've been doing it. Intox Lock reached out to us last year, and we started last year. So we've been doing it about a year. But I know this has been something that's been in place the last 5 years.
Clearly it's being used by the judges now. It's something that they're using here in New York State. Very interesting. It's Big Dog Motors down in Frankfurt. They have a U-Haul across the street and the whole 9 yards. We'll be talking more about them as the month goes on. Todd Gookins, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, have a nice day, guys.
All right, you too.
Bye-bye.
Ultimately, you don't want to drink and drive for the safety of it, for the fact that you could kill someone, right? But boy, oh boy, got to be careful out there. The retired assemblyman is standing by on the line right now. Good morning, Mark. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. My new title is Elder Statesman.
Elder Statesman. I think I should run with that. I like it. I do. It makes you sound so much in the know. You've been through it, so now you know.
Well, I am in the know, and that's why I called. I was listening to your contest this morning, and I got a scoop on Zogby. I think they're going to run Cody Parquet for president, the Democrats, because he kind of goes to the left.
Goes to the left. Yeah. And, man, he can hit it. He can hit an upright and a crossbar. It's crazy.
Well, that's why they're getting him on TV all over. They're very clever, those guys, those rascals.
You're right. I mean, the Today Show's got him. He's on every TV show.
Earned media. You know, it's a
household name.
You know, and he comes
The main reason I called, Bill, was to thank you for your help with that event yesterday. We really hit it out of the park, and I don't know if you had it on, but we did a little side thing to raise money. We had that tragedy here in Herkimer.
Yeah, the horrible
where
fire.
That family had the fatalities. We raised over $170 for them, in addition to what we did for the United Way. So it was a great day. Everything went very smoothly, and I don't think we'd have had the turnout that we did without the help you gave us, especially with those commercials, putting those together. They're just awesome.
Works of art.
We should submit them to some kind of a national contest, I think.
Well, I think they're already in the public archive. There's a special museum for that. Actually, it's in my basement on one of my older computers, but they're being preserved for who knows what future we're looking at, Mark. You never know. But listen, when you say you raised over $1,000, that was kind of a side deal that was done. They just
$170.
$170. That was just a side deal that was done up on the bar at Waterfront Grill, where people just were throwing in dollar bills.
We just put out a collection box, and obviously the people that show up to support the United Way, they're interested in their community and those organizations that help other people. So we knew we had the right crowd there for that, and as always, they responded, a great group of people. We were just very disappointed in the quality of the football game that was on at that time.
Yeah, oh boy.
They kind of cast a pall over the whole event, but otherwise it went great.
Well, again, you had it seems like this thing gets bigger every year, and great crowd from all over the Valley and the Utica-Rome area as well, because United Way does support, obviously, Greater Utica and the Mohawk Valley. So it's a great organization, great cause.
It's a pretty painless way to help a great organization. And I once again have to thank Rock and Barb. They donate all the food. First round of drinks is on them. So they are obviously a major donor and a major sponsor for that. So I can't thank them enough for all they do, not only for the United Way, but for all kinds of events in the Valley. And sometimes I don't think he gets enough credit for it.
Well, I'm going to give him a little more credit here right now, because it's also, when you get a drink ticket when you go in, and it's $25, it includes the buffet. That money, of course, goes to the United Way. But you get a little drink coupon. And a lot of times when you do these things, it becomes, all right, well, we've got 2 or 3 beers and 2 or 3 wines you can pick from. You just bring that ticket up to the bar and you get whatever you want. It could be top shelf. It doesn't matter. That's a pretty big donation in itself.
Yes, it is. It really is. And I also have to say, the organizers from the United Way, the prizes yesterday were just tremendous.
Yeah, they were.
Some of them were $200 and $300 for a $1 ticket. Not bad.
All right, nice job there, Mark Butler. We appreciate it. And we had a conversation yesterday with Mark about how we feel that, being that he's an elder statesman, he cannot be a stranger. We'll be calling on his opinion from time to time as we head into his retirement. I think that's pretty big. So,
well, I've never been shy about expressing my opinion.
That's
so
true.
I appreciate the opportunity.
You put a microphone up, it's like a candy and an ant on a sidewalk with Butler. It's crazy. He'll be right there. All righty there, Mark.
Very good. Thanks
man.
again.
We appreciate it. Yep.
Bye.
Is that a bad example? Is there something like throw a little piece of meat on a sidewalk? The ants, they come running, just like Butler with a microphone. Got a break at WIBX. Two things Belichick did yesterday during that Patriots game. Number one, when they won the toss, he specifically decided to take the ball. So they received the kick, which normally they would have deferred. They only did that one other time during the season. And he said he did it because he wanted to inspire his players. When talked about after the game, his players said, he completely caught us off guard with that, and it totally sent the message that he trusts us. And look what happened in that game. Just those little things. And then the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting is Brady never left the game. And they were up by, 20, 30 points?
At one point it was, I think.
They were way up, and he was still throwing the ball. And when I asked about that after the game, he said, we came to play. You just keep playing. You don't stop playing because you get ahead.
Yeah.
That's his philosophy. Quickly, I want to get Ron Mosier in on this, but your take is that
sure, it takes a whole team to make these dynasties.
You think Belichick is
Belichick's the reason for the
Belichick's
Patriots'
the great
success.
Okay, and not Brady.
No, it's not so much Brady. I mean, he's had the perfect brick wall, border wall, offensive line.
You give that line, I think, more credit. I can't tell you a time that they've been listed as the number one offensive line.
How many sacks against Tom Brady every year?
He doesn't get the ball quick because he gets rid of the ball quick.
But if he has any pressure on him, he doesn't throw the ball. He gets in a little fetal position and gets on the ground.
Like Aaron Rodgers in the fetal position.
Aaron Rodgers is never in the fetal position because of a defender. He's scrambling. He's scrambling out. He's breaking tackles. Tom Brady can't do what Aaron Rodgers does when he's under pressure.
Let me tell you something.
Come on.
In my opinion, Tom Brady is the best quarterback to ever play the game. I don't know how you can't say he's not based on performance.
I
don't know how you.
I'm not saying he's not one of the greatest.
I didn't say one of the greatest. I said I think he's the greatest. I don't know how. This guy's how old now? He's 41 years old. What is he now?
Something like that.
I mean, I got to tell you something. He almost every time he passes that ball, it's spot on. It's in the perfect place. And you know the beauty of Brady that I saw yesterday, that being a Bills fan, I don't get to see a lot of because I just don't get to see a lot of it. He comes out and he just knows where that ball is going without even looking for the receiver. He expects his receiver is going to be there. And almost all the time that receiver is there, at least to take a shot at it. It's really quite impressive to watch him. And, yeah, the offensive line does protect him. There's no doubt about it. But how could you – I'd like Ron Mosier's take on this. Ron, when it comes down to it, Brady, what do you think? I mean, not that you like him, because we all hate him.
And I do, and I also hate Bill Belichick.
And we hate him and loathe him.
Yeah, how would you like to interview Bill Belichick? I guess that's partly why I hate him, so that's kind of selfish on my part. But it's hard to argue with success. And I think when I think of Brady, I think of Belichick and vice versa.
Yeah,
I think it's a package deal. And it really hurts me to say Tom Brady's the greatest, but look at what he's done. And you know, they don't have a Randy Moss. You talked about that first series.
Yeah.
That was a statement. That was Belichick wanting his offense to make a statement. And
they did.
If you look at their offense, Bill, they don't have a Randy Moss. They don't really stretch the defense much. Brady gets the ball out of his hands quickly. It's dink and dunk. They got an Edelman. They got a James White out of the backfield. Now they got Sony Michel who can run the ball. And, of course, there's Gronk, even though I think physically he's hurting.
Yeah,
but he was great as a blocker yesterday, too, the part of the game that I saw. Anyway.
And they got him into the game. They got him into the game later when no one expected him to be taking a pass.
It's a team. It's a team thing there.
Yeah.
I know Brady's great. I know he's 40 years old, and I know what he's done in the past. But they're doing it a different way now. I think they have so many different weapons. I think it's a cliche, but they keep defenses guessing.
Yeah,
they got so many different weapons. When you think of it, I mean, Edelman's a great quote unquote possession receiver, but they don't have the Michael Thomas. You saw what he did with the Saints. So they don't have a Randy Moss like they used to have. But they got so many guys who can can contribute in one way or another, and they're doing it in so many different ways right now that they scare me.
Andrew, you want to respond?
I still think he's the greatest of all time, but I just think
so you do think that?
And I just think that a lot of it has to do with Belichick.
I know why he's such a Trump fan. Because in one breath he says A, and then
I think it's a package deal.
I think look at Matt Castle. Even though they didn't make the playoffs that year, Matt Castle, backup quarterback who couldn't do a thing anywhere else. The team went 11-6.
Yeah.
Any other
and Garoppolo.
Okay, so here's what I think is funny. When we talk about the Packers, you are 100%. You think Aaron Rodgers is God's gift to football, but you think the reason they stink is because the head coach.
Yes.
But in this case,
I believe they're great because of the head coach.
Okay.
He does some great commercials.
Why does the quarterback? But okay, this contradicts. That's what I mean.
Because my stance on
Why
Rodgers.
does the quarterback get $130 million?
Okay,
because it's Aaron Rodgers.
But if it's all dependent
on
the coach, why does the coach get $4 million and the player gets $130?
Because nobody's buying a McCarthy jersey. Nobody's going to see Mike McCarthy
that's the
coach.
Guy that wins the championships.
Aaron Rodgers wins, his championships. People want to see.
All right, enough of this. I'll watch more of it on The View later today. All right. Good morning, Ron Mosher. I'm glad.
Good morning.
I'm glad we got a little bit of this in there because it's worth it.
Hey, Drew Brees turns 40 in a couple days. I like him.
Yeah,
I'm rooting for Drew.
Yeah, I do too. It's going to be that's going to be. It's really going to, no matter what happens, you've got 1 and 2, right, on both sides. You got the 1 and 2 seeds. So you're talking about not one of those wild card teams made it through. You're really dealing with the 4 best teams in football playing.
Right. And Bill, excuse me, but now we don't have to deal with 12 shots a day, a game up in the owner's box to see Jerry Jones' face. So I'm glad that's gone.
I completely agree with that, too. Because he finds ways to find the camera. He finds ways to get on TV. All right, let's start with the kid, the Bush kid from Central Valley Academy. I believe he was on CBS on Friday night. What he did has gained a great deal of national attention.
Yeah, Merrick, one of the twins, and I did the story a day or two later because obviously I wasn't at the salmon tournament, but I heard word of it, and so when I got back to work Monday, or actually during the day, I gave Bob Bush, Merrick's father, obviously, in the Central Valley coach, a call and got his account of it, and I just think it's another. It's another example of that family. And, Bill, wrestling, it's a family. It's a brotherhood.
I will say, I gotta tell you, this kid is getting a great deal of attention, and it's completely deserved. But I said on the other day, and I'm not sure it'll be completely popular with some people, but it's really the truth. He did what almost every wrestler that I knew and I grew up with and I coached through the years would do. It's that sport. That is a family sport. It is a camaraderie, and I do believe, I have faith that most other wrestlers would do the exact same kid as what that kid, same thing as what that kid did.
Bill, Merrick admitted to me, I just did the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid, I don't think TV, I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't think TV did it justice because it made it sound like Merrick gave up a win. Merrick told me that, hey, I was beat.
Yeah,
that
he was
kid
getting beat.
Deserved the win.
Yep.
Now, in the last 30 seconds, could Merrick have with the kid having one arm, basically, could Merrick have possibly pinned him in the last 30 seconds? Yeah. But, I mean, why maybe jeopardize his whole career?
Yes.
And that's where the brotherhood comes in. There was a mutual respect there, and I don't think some of the TV coverage, Merrick was losing 7-0.
Mm-hmm.
And I think talking to Merrick, that's only the second time he had ever wrestled Logan Patterson. Both kids, well, obviously Merrick, a state champion, and the other kid, the Indian River kid, Patterson, had wrestled in the state championships a year ago.
Yep.
At the Division I, at the large school level. So, I mean, in wrestling, kids know other kids. They've grown up in these peewee tournaments and traveling on travel teams. There's a mutual respect there. You go through the same thing. They had only wrestled once before in the Salmon tournament final a year ago. I checked it out, and Merrick had lost to the kid 13-1. That's how good this kid is as a wrestler, too. So there was a mutual respect there, and I agree with you. He did what most kids would have done, but it still was a great, a goodwill gesture, sportsmanship, whatever, and it's not the first time. If you remember, you may not have read my story a couple years ago. His brother Mason is the kid who wrestled, and this kid left an impression with me, Connor Wilkes, a Down syndrome boy, 99-pounder.
I remember this story,
Merrick's twin brother Mason allowed him to go the full 6 minutes. The kid had been pinned all the time, quickly. Mm-hmm. And he wrestled, he let Connor wrestle him for a full 3 periods. And to me, that's a great show of sportsmanship too. And Bill, and CBA and Merrick mentioned this. There have been cases where throwing headgear, swearing, whatever, one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch, right?
No doubt about it. Yep.
Well, it's a individual team sport, and I think this was a good show of sportsmanship, no matter what level of it. It was the right thing to do, and Merrick Bush did it. So maybe it was overblown, but I don't think so in this day and age when there are too many examples of bad sportsmanship.
And I got to tell you something. I do not want it to come off that I'm saying it was overblown. I do not believe it was overblown. I'm simply saying I know wrestlers. I know the sport. Yes, we all know. There's always a couple out there that, and I know I probably in my head right now I'm thinking of a couple of wrestlers that would not have done what this kid did. But it's only a couple. So I'm not saying it was overblown. I'm just saying if you're in the wrestling community, you're like, yeah, that's what you do. That's what he did. And you would expect him to do that. And it was a cool move. He and the sport deserve the notoriety it's getting. And so I don't want to come off that.
I think it's just a great example.
It is. There's no doubt. And you're right.
Move on.
Where and we are.
If it happens again, it happens the same way,
And where we are today with youth sports, where you see at times, such poor sportsmanship, it is awesome to have attention on something that's positive for a change.
Without a doubt. And, Bill, if I was Watertown newspaper and covering Indian River, there is another side of this story. I would bet my house, don't tell my wife, I would bet my house, our house, that if the shoe was on the other foot and Merrick Bush arm was just hanging there, that Bob Bush would have lost that match by injury default, even though the team score was still in doubt. And I think there should be the other side of this story is, should Indian River's coaching staff really send that kid out there?
What do they put that kid? I completely agree with you there. I mean, because you're talking,
and they still lost the team tournament. Now, why would you jeopardize that kid?
You're talking about an injury.
That's a
good point.
Play as far as liability and everything.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about an injury. It goes even further. I mean, I almost feel like the referees could have said, "No, you're not coming back out here." And I don't mean to put it on the refs by any means, but you gotta wonder at what point is winning a wrestling match the most important thing. At what point is it more important than the safety of a kid? And by the way, sometimes these injuries you can injure something even more so to the point where it's a lifelong injury that you're always going to deal with it.
Oh, without a doubt. And I don't know if you saw the video, Bill, But
I did.
The video, you see the two referees clapping. I interviewed one of them, Terry Cavanaugh, whose son was a great, great wrestler at BVS.
Yep.
Terry said he had to clamp just out of respect for both kids.
Yeah.
You know, you don't see that very often either. He said it brought tears to his eyes. So, I mean, again, it was the right thing to do, and I agree with you. Most kids would have done that, but hey, why not? Why not at least point it out?
Yeah.
Because it's something positive.
And just like as you know, when we talk about wrestlers, the mentality of a wrestler. I'm also not surprised that kid came out and finished the last 30 seconds. If you know the sport,
but from every account that I've heard, he was sort of prodded.
Oh boy.
Now,
well,
I don't know if that's true.
Yep.
I've heard it third hand, but
I agree with you.
Because the team scoring, the team title was still in doubt at the time.
Wow. I agree that
a whole other story.
That a Bob Bush probably would not have done that. He wouldn't have sent that kid back out.
You're jeopardizing your kid, and well, actually, with Bob Bush, it would be his son. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. Yep. All right, interesting stuff, Ron. What a great story. All right, let's talk a little high school football. Well, we're in the thick of things right now.
You mean basketball, don't you?
I'm sorry. Did I say football?
Yeah.
Let's talk high school basketball.
You're still on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. We are in the thick of things when it comes to high school basketball.
Yes. We're a little past midway, I think. Hey, how about this last week? I don't know if you noticed, but Friday night, right on deadline, I'm scrambling Tommy Morial, the great wide receiver, by the way, for Whitesboro. Needed like 23 points to score his 1,000. He winds up scoring a school record 47 for Whitesboro in a double overtime win over Auburn. And Auburn's a double-A school. Morial goes way over 1,000, obviously. Wow. Scores 47. I think he had 17 in the two overtimes. And then the very next night, right on deadline, we hear that Kaya Henderson, the freshman at New Hartford, the girl who went over 1,000
this girl
games ago as a freshman, which is unheard of. Brianna Stewart did not do that, by the way. Kaya Henderson breaks her own school record and scores 42 points for New Hartford girls. So,
what?
Wow. So
42 points,
back-to-back nights. So,
and she's a freshman. This kid's a freshman.
Goodness.
Yes. And she's 5'4", whatever. I wish she was bigger, but believe me, she's only 14 years old. She still has time to grow. So,
yeah.
Super quick, great defensively, and a great kid, by the way. I really like her. You know, at our Mohawk Valley banquet last June, as our player of the year, I introduced her as, by the way, this is the next big thing in our area. And I've written since then that take the next out. She is the big thing in our area. She's gotten several Division I scholarship offers already, including the first one from Syracuse. So, and she's 14 years old.
She's 14 years old.
She's got to be saying, let's get that college or high school career going.
You got to put this in perspective. She's 14 years old. She is a freshman, and she just reached the 1,000th point of her varsity career.
That's unbelievable.
Holy cow.
So when did she start playing? 8th grade?
Fourth.
No, 7th.
7th grade.
7th grade. Okay, started playing varsity in 7th grade. So she's that good.
She's halfway through her third varsity season.
Yeah.
We had 3 more to go after this. So.
With 3 more to go. Wow, that is crazy. All right, quickly, let's look to the future. What are we looking at? And when it comes down to playoff, who's going to be standing at the very end? What do you think based on what you've seen?
Well, I really like Whitesboro, what they've done. And in Class A, they've already beaten Janesville DeWitt, who was at least most people thought that they were the class of Class A. And they've already beaten them in a non-league game. So Whitesboro boys basketball team ranked in the state. I can't remember the last time that's happened. And, the coach, Garrett Hertham, used to play there, played in college, and they've really got it going right now. And they got it, other than Tommy Morial, they've got Colin McAndrew, they got Zach Britt, Avery Cook, the really good baseball pitcher. I really think they've got a shot at going a long way. And don't forget Notre Dame or RFA. Notre Dame was bumped up to Double-A this year after winning Class A title last year. So, and from what I understand, the Syracuse side, AA could be up for grabs. I realize Corcoran's very good. I think they're still unbeaten. West Jenny's very good. Those two teams are the only AA teams to beat RFA this year. But I think it's up for grabs there. And this is something that we've got to get on more, is the Utica Academy of Science boys team.
Yeah, I was reading about these guys. Yeah,
I've never seen them play. Marquel Slaughter, our sports writer, who's seen almost everybody around here, the top teams anyway. He's seen them, and he says they're very good. So, and they've got a big game tomorrow night, actually, at Herkimer High School.
And they're ranked in the state poll too, right?
Yeah, in Class C.
Yeah. Interesting.
But for the first time in a while, it's I'm looking more at our big schools as having a chance to go on, and in girls. With Kai Anderson, New Hartford. New Hartford's got a shot. Oneida is very, very good once again. The Tri-Valley League girls basketball from top to bottom, there's some great teams here. VBS, Whitesboro, and right at the top is Oneida and New Hartford, and that should be a good matchup. I think they have to play again yet. Too,
for this kid, this girl at New Hartford to have reach the 1,000-point mark. And that means she was productive as a seventh grader. She didn't just make the team, but she was productive as a seventh grader.
No, I'd have to look back, but I'm pretty sure she led the team in scoring as a seventh grader.
Wow. All right, Ron, interesting stuff. And we're, as we said, in the thick of things right now. We appreciate it. We'll do it again next week.
Yeah, Bill, hey, I know you're a wrestling fan. I got a wrestling story going tomorrow. So
okay, I'll be looking for that. All right, cool.
All right.
Thanks, Ron Mosher. Appreciate it.
Take care.
We'll break.
Bye-bye.
I want to talk about the latest on politics. Today's going to be a really big day. There's going to be a lot happening, and maybe people want to pipe in. I'd like to spend the half hour doing that if I could. 315-736-0186. How about a pair of tickets for boxing action this Friday night at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino in the Event Center? Boxing is back. We'll take caller number 5, get a pair of tickets, and it's on us. Caller number 5 at 315-736-0186. For ticket information, call 361-SHOW at the Turning Stone Resort and Casino. New York State Legislature will be moving the primary to June. That's a big deal because campaigns that are ramping up and getting ready are all, up to this point, have been planning on September. Now, you just put them in a position where they're hey, you announced in January. Good. I'm glad you're announcing in January. Right on time. Oh, wait a minute. The primaries moved to June. You're late.
And for those who haven't announced yet, you better be announcing.
Yeah, you got to think about it. Plastic bags. Looks like the governor's going to try to push to have plastic bags banned in New York State. You know, the ones you get at the grocery store. That's
only Hawaii right now is a full ban, by the way.
Just for clarification, the bags we're talking about are considered single-use bags. Single-use plastic bags.
I don't know about I don't know why they call it that, because I have multiple use on mine. I use them for everything. Oh, yeah? Like cat, excrement.
Yeah, that's a great thing to use them for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or a liner for small trash cans.
Yep. Sometimes I put it over my head and rob a bank.
Oh, I never get too far.
Poke little holes in it, otherwise you can't breathe. These things are important. But, but garage sales, what are people going to use?
Christmas gift wrapping?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I'll use them to stuff things in. If you're sending a package, they work as good stuffing stuff.
Yeah, or you're packing to move or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, now you're going to have to pay for all of that.
I know. That's just terrible.
10 cents.
What else? Smoking. He's going to try to up the age to 21 on smoking.
For statewide.
Come up to the I want our intern to come up to the microphone. Just, I'm against this, by the way. I don't think kids should be smoking. However, do you smoke?
No.
No, good for you. I'm glad you don't. And you know kids who do.
Yes.
I think smoking is down with kids. The number of kids who smoke.
A lot of them
you mean like
vaping?
Cool?
Vaping. I don't think
it's the thing, right?
Yeah, it's like vaping.
Vaping is the big thing today.
Do you see a lot of your classmates with the e-cigarettes and stuff? They bring them to school?
Yeah.
Are they allowed to use them in school?
We have nicotine detectors actually in our bathrooms because the use is so high.
Yeah.
Nicotine detectors.
And they're sneaking them, right?
Yeah.
They'll sneak it some kids will even sneak it and do it in a classroom.
In class, in the hallways,
Yeah.
Vaping is really bad.
It's a bad problem in all schools right now.
I remember like they used to get mad. Teachers would get mad when you had your cell phone out on the desk, and now they don't care about that. They just don't want you vaping.
Yeah.
Well, some schools still ban cell phones, believe it or not. So, but the fact is, though, if you wanted to get cigarettes, I mean, you're how old now?
I'm 17.
If you wanted cigarettes, you're going to get cigarettes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. We pass all these laws, and I guess it's important. But if you want it, you're going to get it. You got it. I mean, you bought them illegally when you were a kid.
I will say this, though. When I was a kid, they weren't, like, big on IDing. I remember I used to just walk to the store. And to even tell you the truth, I remember being, like, 11 years old, and my babysitter, it was actually my grandmother, was a heavy smoker. And, like, she would run out, and she'd have, 6 or 7 kids. She had, like, a daycare.
You just take it.
And she would be like, I need you to run to the store. And I would just go at like 11, and they wouldn't ask me or ID me or anything.
Crazy.
But you know what the funny thing is?
Jeff also looked 25 at 11. So
no, you know what the funny thing is though too? You just said if you want them, you can get them, et cetera, et cetera. I can't tell you. I mean, even in the past 3 or 4 months, how many times I often leave the house without my cell phone or without my wallet. I will walk in and try to buy a pack of cigarettes, and they're like ID, and I'm like, oh.
Well, some places,
you're kidding.
Some places ID,
and I can't get them.
They'll ID me.
Without an ID,
right.
but you can get them. It's ridiculous.
With grocery stores, with beer, you are ID'd. You can be 80 years old; they're going to ID you.
Yeah,
because the manager even has, like, one of the stores that you buy alcohol, the manager has to come over and they have to look at the ID and then they have to scan it. It's a whole process.
You have to take your shoes off, belts off, put it up on the little conveyor belt.
Put your right foot in, right foot out.
No liquids, unless you're buying a liquid. You could buy a liquid. I believe if we're going to send a kid off to war at 18, if a kid can be charged in a crime as an adult at the age of 18, although I think that's changed, right? The age has been upped on that now.
Yeah.
Is it still 18? I forget. Maybe that was 17. They upped it to 18. I just think that they should have the right to be able to make a decision on whether or not they're buying cigarettes or buying alcohol. That's my belief.
Just a quick note on the jail thing. I think it's prosecutors' discretion to some extent, because I know one of the homicides in Syracuse, it was 2 15-year-olds, and they said they were going to charge him as an adult.
I think that's changed now, though.
Well, because they were going to charge him as an adult, but then the story, both are right. They were going to charge him as an adult, but they had the chance to be out at 18. Or their 21st birthday.
If you look at the law that was passed last year, I think all of that has changed now. But I could be wrong. I didn't follow it that closely. Kathy in Rome, look it up. I think you'll find it, though. Kathy in Rome, good morning.
Hi, everybody. Hey, I decided I'd go ahead and pay my county tax early.
Oh, nice.
And I must have been under the impression there wouldn't be a tax increase. But anyways, my county tax, based on 4.6 per thousand, my tax bill went up about $33. Now, if we're getting all this money from the Indians and everywhere, why the tax increase?
Okay, so
sooner or later, the county tax is going to be getting up there to where it'll be right there with the school tax.
Yeah,
Getting higher and higher.
All right, this is the interesting thing, and we do need to get someone on the show to talk about this. Okay, this has to do with equalization rates. So Oneida County actually did not raise taxes. There's an equalization rate that's determined by the state.
Some municipalities and townships, etc., theirs went up based on equalization, right? Others did not.
Correct.
Yeah.
No,
actually, some I think actually have gone down.
It's kind of confusing.
It is. I would love a clarification on this so I can better understand. I'm wondering how much of it has to do with, for instance, property that's on the tax rolls and then maybe it's bought by a not-for-profit. Or, I mean, I hate to say this, but we all know this. A lot of farms have gone out of business. Hang on one second. Hang on one second.
Hold on one second.
So
Kathy.
the value of that property, if it's a farm, it's worth X. But if it's just vacant land, it's worth much less.
All right, Kathy.
Now, I have my city tax. I asked for a copy. I'm going to pay my city tax, my first tax shortly. Actually, my city tax went down a couple of dollars.
Okay. All right. And it will vary from municipality to municipality in the area. But we
need less county service here in the city, and I don't know, maybe the cost of county services aren't balanced out enough.
All right, Kathy, we'll get the county executive back out to talk about that. I know Tony Pacini did talk about it. We specifically talked about this, and I do recall, I think my father-in-law piping in and saying he's absolutely correct. This is the way it's done. And then I was still confused, just for the record.
Thank you.
Okay, all right,
Bye-bye.
Kathy, thank you. Coming up, I want to do a quick break, and when I come back, the guess who's running against Tony Pacini for county executive. If you haven't heard yet, I'm going to tell you. If you have heard yet, we're going to talk some crap. Coming up. It's coming up. All of a sudden, everybody's going to be talking elections again because it looks like today they'll be moving the primary to June, which ultimately I think is a good thing and that it's certainly cost effective. But for people running for office this year especially, it's really going to put a pinch on everybody. And I think it might even dissuade some people from running. They were thinking about running, but now they feel like they don't have enough time to put everything together. It's a real disadvantage if you don't have an infrastructure already in place, right?
Or if you had thought about running and if you had just recently thought about running, you're not going to have time to go through it, as opposed to people that were.
Thank you for saying what I just said. I appreciate that.
You hear that?
That's funny.
Sorry. I thought I was saying a different
You knew.
thought,
I saw your face. It looked like midway through your sentence, you're like,
Bill
I'm
just
saying
said
exactly what he's just said.
Yes.
It's just used a couple different words. Guess who's running for county executive? County executive.
Drum roll.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, he's run for everything. There's one position left.
The Boilermaker.
I don't think he is. Dave Gordon is running for county executive. He just came off a very close race with Sandy DePerno, the county clerk. Now, I still find maybe he's just kidding us, like he's pulling our leg or something.
I think that's possible.
Dave, I'm not making fun of him. I'm just thinking I think it's an overreach creatively on your part. A reach over the top. Anyway, Dave is running for county executive.
There's got to be more to this story. I mean, he just came off where he ran for county clerk. And again, he is effective and does get support when he runs for office. I'm being honest here, it's almost comical that he goes from
almost
race to race to race.
Some people do cocaine.
We joked that what is he going to do next?
Some people run for elections. And it's like you're right. We're joking about what's next.
We should plan an intervention.
I never would have thought that it was this. But, hey, we've reached out to him. He says he won't come on the air with us. But who knows? We'll see what happens. Back here tomorrow. Enjoy your day.